ball. So this is air pressure. Comes with a video, comes with even purchasing the kit that comes with the experiment. Then you're able to add in all your information onto it. So viewing the cart, then checkout, yeah? So select the address that you'd want it to be delivered to for the science kit before you do the lesson. Online platform looks like. And as I mentioned, funkyscience.co.ke, so Funke science. We're everywhere. So then moving on to the next one. So our value prop as Funky Science is that our science sessions and kits provide affordable and accessible solutions for children who want to advance their scientific skills. So it's those simple solutions that we require to help also, like Kuka's nephew, who you don't have access to this lab equipment, you don't have access to lab material, science is taught the same way, it's not practical, so we want to break those barriers, we want to change them. I think even it's been mentioned, we want to get more girls into science. Hey, when they see someone like them speaking to them about STEM, it seems more accessible. And then also in terms of our students, since we started way back in 2016, our numbers of course have been doubling as we go on through the years. So we've got more students on board, we've doubled even in terms of selling our science kits and our science material, and then also we're growing the community. So even by speaking to you here, I'm also planting a small seed that you can also join our community as well. In terms of our milestones, so I've cut it from 2016 would be long, so we've decided let's do it from 2018 and work all the way around. So we've worked with different partners, not just schools, but NGOs, media, startup organizations, and different sort of funders, just to help this idea get on board. We don't just work within your traditional education sector, but we work with as many partners as we can. Why is this? Because science knowledge is not just for us. Science does not just make you into a scientist, it also influences around creativity, critical thinking, even just practical hands-on learning. It helps in retention of some of those concepts. So imagine if you are told about friction using a balloon and a skewer. You know, two things that you'd imagine would pop, but can actually teach you a science experiment and a science concept. And I'd want to also plug in some of our events. So I've mentioned that we normally have a science camp here during the holidays at Consolata Shrine. We also have events at different locations. So we have one coming up on the 8th of June. Am I right, Nell? 8th of June? Yeah, 8th of June at Afrik Majik. It's on Kiambu Road, where we're doing these science experiments and where we're trying to also show these children that science is not difficult and it's not something that you cannot do, but it's manageable if broken down into smaller steps. And then, yes, my face is there. So we normally even have live sessions every last Saturday of the month where we discuss everything, not just STEM, but everything education, because there are different things that impact us differently around education. So it could have been something like floods. It could be something like what Kuka has touched on, like teacher training, those different things. So we want to try and continue speaking about these different topics, because at the end of the day, when we talk about it, everyone is able to get information. We are not a monopoly of knowledge. So I'm encouraging you guys, you can actually attend one of our events and then also log on to one of our live sessions. And I think the videos are still on YouTube as well, if you'd like to access. Then in terms of our team, so there's me, the CEO, and then there's Dennis, who does creative tech, also a scientist, did oh yeah, just a bit of a background, yes. So I did industrial chemistry, he did geology at the University of Nairobi. Then we have Wesley, who does finance, Peter, who's our developer, Nell, who's here, does social media, marketing and community development, and then one of our funky facilitators, Marianne. This is a snippet of our team. Our team grows and is much larger, and we want to reach as many children as possible, so there are quite a lot more funky facilitators. And of course, as you've noticed, majority female. And then just in terms of feedback for our team, we have gotten feedback from one of our teachers, and this shows and gives validation for the work that we're doing, that our science courses, science sessions have improved their students' learning outcomes in the class. At the end of the day, for any school and for any parent, the bragging right is to make sure that my child moves from one level to the next and their grades are matching up to it. So in conquest to finish then, I'd want all of you to join our community and to join us in inspiring the next generation of African scientists. Thank you.
you, Tracy. I've learned a thing or two today about ADHD and the intelligent people. In fact, I was seeing myself there. I'm not saying I'm intelligent. Yeah, but I think it's a learning session for all of us, and to appreciate the people who are around you, even when you're in class. If you see some kind of characteristics, you can always relate to some kind of special or enabled differently people. And also just looking at what Tracy is doing, I think it's amazing how you can package things and people can actually learn from the comfort of their homes and participate to make sure that science is not dying. I think the fact that you say friction, you're walking from one point to another. Friction is science. Agriculture is science. I'm more inclined to agriculture. Agriculture is an art and a science. So let's all just look at all these things that they're sharing, that we can be able to relate with them. Then how do we also ensure that our younger generation is also picking up some of these things? So I will welcome, we have a panel session, and as I said, it's going to be quite interactive. So after the session, just keep your questions. We are going to have the Q&A session after, and I'll welcome our last presenter for today, AfriSchool, Dixon Wambari. Karibu.
God is good, and all the time. They say they save the best for last, but I'm not sure. So, as I try and sort out the presentation, I would maybe want to give a small story about how the AfriSchool came about. Now, of course, there's a story told of this young lady who was brought up in the village, and trying to ensure that the only dream she had was to get out of the village and make something out of her life. So in the process, working hard, ensuring that she's able to study, despite those challenges of having to use candles to study and all that. So later she was able to do her CPE, and she was able to be called to Loreto Limuru. But unfortunately, she was not able to get school fees to attend Loreto. But luckily, she was able to get a sponsor who actually sponsored her, and she was able to get into Loreto and later graduate with a Bachelor of Education from the University of Nairobi. So the reason why I tell this story is that because of those struggles, and even after she got children, trying to ensure that they're able to get the best quality education using the least resources, which is some of those challenges that as African parents, we want to get the best, but ensuring that we use less as we are trying to achieve the best. So AfriSchool is an e-learning platform that actually brings together institutions, that, those best institutions, so that as a parent, in as much as that you are not able to afford taking your child to maybe Alliance or those big schools, you can actually get access to content that can help your children perform better. So So how does this platform work? So normally we have the video content plus assessments and a discussion forum. So what happens is that we engage institutions, yeah, to offer their e-learning material onto our platform, so that as a parent you can be able to get into the platform and choose whatever institution that you'd want to get content from. So, as I've said, there are recorded videos, yeah, which we produce in conjunction with the institutions. And then we have now the assessments, which are created by the institutions themselves. And then, of course, discussion forums that are also moderated by the teachers from those institutions. Now, of course, the tutorials are normally recorded, so we ensure that we have at least videos that cover the classes, and they're divided into short videos to ensure that at least we enable learner retention. So this is also a sample of some of the assessments that are there, and then the discussion forums. So most importantly, because of time, I wanted to maybe show you a video of some of the impacts that we are able to manage, because as a platform, we've also tried to ensure that we take this content to rural schools, because that's where the learners there are trying to get the same opportunity as learners from the cities. So I'll play a video just to show you some of the so this is a school in Taita. I think there's a problem with the sound. So what we have done with the platform, we have actually gone to schools and provided them with smart televisions. So these smart televisions, we have installed with it after-school content, videos that the kids in the primary schools can be able to also interact with the content and all. Okay. So unfortunately, there is no sound, but that is the big overview of what we do in after-school. So lastly, I would want to, as I finish my short presentation, give you a quote that you should not know people, rather you should know God, who will show you the right people. So I'll leave you with a verse from the Bible, Isaiah 30:21. And you will hear, and your ears will hear a word behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it," when you turn to your right or when you turn to your left. So that was my time. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Dixon. So as I mentioned, we have a panel that is currently loading. So I'm going to welcome Fina Ajoga. I hope I mentioned your name correctly. To just introduce the panel, let us know what we are going to be getting. I don't want to preempt that, so that we can get going. Karibu, Fina.
Thank you so much. It's been quite a lovely session so far, yes? So let us just give a huge applause to everyone who has been here to give us some very insightful information. Come on. Yeah. When you think you know, you get to know you don't know enough. And so, I'll start by inviting Dixon. You know those who say, save the last for the best? So karibu sana, karibu sana. And I think I was actually asking if those two tunes we see CMA doing those two dances and everything that makes you want to join CMA when you don't fit. Do you have anything to do with that?
Yes, I'm the creator.
Well, karibu sana. Next, I'll ask Kaimori to join us. And I think we can invite her with some clap as she dances to that, right? We want to test those skills. Yeah. Karibu sana. And actually I was thinking that maybe she had a leakage onto what I was looking to have in this interactive session with her, because we seem to have read from the same script on what on the coverage of learning differently. Karibu sana, Tracy Shindu. Let's welcome her with a round of claps. And we're going to have quite a lot of fun as we explore STEM and see how it interacts, or even how we can peg ourselves to it. I want to invite Lily Kisenga. Now this is quite interesting because she comes with quite some vast information on conversational learning. I don't know how many of us have ever heard of something like that, but today at least we get a glimpse of what conversational learning is and what it entails, and hope to pick some insights in how we can implement it in our lives. Then, Violet Njagi. A clap, please. So, Vio is going to literally bring a vast information for us and even experience in technical and vocational education and training. And note that today it's not only about, young children and everything. It's also for all of us who still have that kid in us. And learning is a journey that does not end. My grandfather used to tell me that you only stop learning when you're 6 feet under. Because every day is a moment and an opportunity for us to gain something. And with that, it is also important to not only speak of even our children at the younger age, or even at the professionals who are already at a certain sector or a line of career, but also the gap in between for our youth. And the youth in Kenya is, what is the age of our youth? Youth starts at what age? When we say vijana, our former president was still a youth, by definition. So, and also by definition of everyone in the room, we are all youths as well. So we'll trickle some knowledge on the same and look at how we are going to also inject ourselves into the process and journey of learning. Even if you are at a point where you feel you want to change your career, or even you want to have so many experiences from one job to another before you can find your area of where you can settle, then you are welcome on the same. So then we are going to have Tom Rono from Consolata Self-Help Group. Karibu sana. So for every journey, there's always, we've talked of parents who support, and I like that even a custody has been given, where maybe even a certain hand is short, you'll get another hand that will extend the same. And so that's why we also have to look at even other institutes or even other entities or persons who come in as that hand that extends us into making our dreams a reality. So I believe we are all set, and so we'll begin our session. So to start us off, I'd ask that maybe you come closer. Maybe, yes, please. So, well, in Kenya, most of the time we may say education is for all, but the realities of life is that education in one way or another has had its way of, sometimes it's creating divide or sometimes it's not accessible, yet it's the one gift, and today even we can say it's a need to enable us even as an economy, to enable us even as people, as humanity to move or find our way forward. However, we see that with online learning, and this question will go to Dixon. So how do we address these challenges? Because today it can be, how do I buy mkate and how do I study with the tax and everything that is becoming quite a challenge. We know that today even health and nutrition affects our children. We also know that economic, strains have also contributed highly into how we learn, how we progress in life, how we even, aspire in the journey we have. So we have quite a number of different challenges that come. So how do we address these challenges and what do we need to achieve this mission?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. What I believe is that the online or the e-learning dynamics have really brought sort of what I can say an easier way, so to speak, of how to challenge. How to go around these challenges. First and foremost, you notice that even the national examinations, someone can be able to study at home and book for your exams. So if you have these e-learning platforms whereby you can just, like these days, you can buy a bundle for 20 shillings for 1 GB to watch, yeah? So you can be able to watch that content and still do your exam, rather than those other days where you had to look for an institution, to get higher learning. And also when you look at also the tertiary, in the tertiary level, the government has also, through the CBET, the government has made it easier that you can actually move from certificate or craft or artisan all the way to PhD with the levels. And you can also still, there are people who have experience in terms of someone who has worked maybe as a mtu wa mkono in a garage, and you've gotten skills here and there. The government has also offered a way that someone can just do an exam to ensure that they can be able to get a certification that can help them scale the ladder. So I can say with the online dynamics, it has really helped access to education.
Well, let's give him an applause for that. So we are seeing how learning has been made quite accessible to the larger community, to the various aspects. What can you also input in terms of the device challenges and accessibility elements, especially with, say, online learning? And how do we, in taking this education online, how is this enabled by technology?
What I can say is that we can also thank the government, because when you look at 10 years back, the internet penetration was very low. Right now, the internet penetration has been very high. It's 89%. Yeah. So meaning then there are many people have access to actually internet. Funny thing is that our house help is from Mashambani, and through her WhatsApp, she gets information, and she's the first one to tell us, you know what, there's war in Ukraine, and because of that access to. So it means even for her to access education and be able to study while working, you know, she can still get a better shot to life's opportunities.
So what we get is, even for the marginalized societies, we are able to easily access these resources from wherever you are and with the devices that we have. At the time when we had COVID-19, we also saw quite a huge number of people taking up online learning. And now with that even, it brings us, we saw children coming online to be able to catch up, though at that point there were quite a number of challenges that we were still facing and trying to get by. So how can we say, or how can we ensure that the online curriculum, is quite relevant, especially what we say culturally relevant? And I like the aspect where we were bringing the aspect of us being Africans. How can we ensure that the online curriculum is culturally relevant and inclusive, even of our diverse backgrounds?
I'll speak as AfriSchool. What we have tried to do is ensure that what we are doing is taking what is taught in schools to the online platform, so that we don't have to change anything. All we have to do, because of course even for the schools themselves, they have those guidelines that they have to adhere to in terms of their teaching. So for us as a platform, is just to ensure that we are able to take their content and make it accessible to people who are, I mean, the marginalized, as you say, and people who would want to access that kind of technology. But of course, there has been, those challenges and also concerns in terms of the cybersecurity, and I've realized there are so many laws that have come in terms of data protection. So we see there's a lot of also government activity in terms of regulating. Just a few weeks ago, there was this clash with the Kenya Film Classification Board with the content providers. So it also shows that the government is trying to ensure that whatever is put online has some sort of monitoring of some sort going on.
Well, and that brings us to the bit of, sometimes we have special learning needs. And I like the bit that you brought in, and where Kemuru was talking of learning differently. Most of the time these symptoms are not obvious. And as a parent, how can one be able to identify when a child has this special need? And in so doing, what are the immediate steps that maybe they can undertake in responding, or even getting to be able to support this child better?
Okay, thank you for that question. Can I just add a few numbers, because we are in an EdTech space?
Sure.
And I think Tracy and I have been to enough EdTech summits. And we are excited about the access to the internet in Kenya and Africa. And everyone cites COVID-19, the use of internet went up. But for what? In a country that has over 89% connectivity, even at the height of COVID, we only got to almost 20% of people using the internet for learning. So, as I say, my Shamba boy will be on WhatsApp, Facebook, and I'm saying that in a very accent, and TikTok, and everything else but learning. Same to our children. So, there needs to be a real effort, intentional effort. First, to sensitize teachers to uptake technology to support their learners, because we'll be left behind forever if we do not. So the teacher uptake of technology use is pretty low. Second thing is that we are busy parents. You have your work, and then you have your side hustle, and you're thinking that noisy child and their homework, CBC homework. So we numb our children or silence them using a gadget. They are so good with games. Can we use now maybe gamification for learning? Can we use, maybe even to answer for immediate steps? Immediate steps, I start from the second question, gamification for learning. Now, how do parents identify specific learning disabilities? Then I come back and finish. Assessments again, I said we will create awareness so that you know what the symptoms look like. But because some of these differences are because of neurological or psychological problems, sometimes some children will require more assistance by professionals. So whether it's through medication or CBT or many other interventions, some of them may need to have like their nerves activated, taught functional living skills, because like autism has a lot to do with the social ability of the child. I mean, the child becomes removed socially, then they concentrate on one thing and they're so good at it, and then you're like, oh, that child is a genius, but they're struggling. You know, all these other things. And so we see the genius of what they concentrated on and not the struggle that affects their living. So basically, reading, please use your mobile phones for information to teach people. I mean, even to learn. And I said, even if you don't want to read, listen to a podcast from the right person. You know, us guys follow all the comedians and everyone. We don't follow the right professionals. They're professional podcasts. They're professional videos on YouTube. So basically, use your gadget intentionally for learning. Now, what are the immediate steps? In education, there's something that UNICEF pushes that's called universal design for learning. So what is universal design for learning? And those are the things we've picked also as learning differently, hoping to be able to translate it into the classroom. So when COVID-19 happened, a lot of information, rightfully, was put online for learning. It was still information that a dyslexic child cannot relate with. It was still information that a child with visual impairment cannot relate to. It was still information that a child with hearing impairment could not relate to. So point number one, universal design for learning. First phase of it is that there is, and the word has disappeared, Tracy Ninini, there's multiple intelligences. Use different methods of learning. All of you have had your children in Sunday school. Sunday school teachers have perfected how to teach well. They use a song, a story, a drama, a craft, discussions. By the time that child leaves your class after 40 minutes, they've accessed the same information in 6 or 7 different ways. That's what you are asking for. Universal design of thinking, multiple intelligences, multiple ways of learning. Then there is multisensory learning that Montessori is derived from. Touch, smell, feel, experience. How can you now move that to tech? And we can. The science does that. I said the only thing you can't do in tech is taste and smell, but you can describe. So basically, when the universal design for thinking, they say use different methods of learning, but also use different platforms for learning. Walk outside, touch, smell, listen to a song, watch a video, discuss with a friend. So those things can be pretty inclusive. But also on the tech side, there, and again I speak because I sit on disability spaces a lot. There's it's not an MOU, it's a document. The one that policy paper, thank you, that's the one. There's a policy for the standards of disability inclusion on the internet. A Kenyan policy. Yeah, it was launched 2 years ago. So basically, it says it has to do basic things like putting captions, describing pictures. So when you create a platform, you need to start including some of those things are inclusive. It will also have screen readers so that people who can see, it's read to them. So there are basic standards to make platforms inclusive for the disability space. Thanks.
So we see that there's quite a number of resources and support systems that are able to support and even enable learning in this kind. And just riding on to what you said about the teachers, there's that say of you can't teach old dogs new tricks, yeah? And sometimes these old dogs are us parents where maybe you are brought up in a certain way of doing things and everything else that is going on. And so we want to be able to fix our children into a certain system, or even fix them to be able to learn in a way that you yourself can comprehend or understand as the correct way of going about things. So in such circumstances, what would be your advice to parents, especially when it comes to children with special needs?
Actually, even we don't teach kids, our kids in ways that we comprehend. She said there was a 90% failure. Believe it, if I showed you my KCSE paper, my dad saw it and he threw it back and said, you know what, end out of the kazi ya cleaner, makarani huko yaku. Because I got straight, and it's true, I got straight down in syllabus in physics, maths, chemistry and biology, and I'm not kidding you. And I want to force my son to learn the way I couldn't learn. So it's not, we want to teach kids in ways that we can explain. Because we've done it before, or it's being done, we can explain it. So being different takes a lot of effort and intentionality. And so what do I tell parents? Please don't try and make your child a doctor because you wanted to be one. If your family is not for doctors, kubali. There is so much information, there's so much more your kids can do out here. I remember, and I won't mention names because the world is small, my cousin was a publisher. He used to write newspapers. And the daughter used to tell him, Dad, whatever you're big in the newspapers, I am going to be a bigger publisher or media person than you are. She started a blog. She was one of the first people to start a blog. And she's a bigger name than the dad. In fact, nowadays the dad is known because of her. So basically, she did it differently and moved on. And we need to allow our children to be those things. As I said, my son wants to study agriculture. He has ADHD and dyslexia. He has he can barely make it to year 11. I want to go to a technical college or somebody's farm to learn how to get it done. So we are getting into a skill-based space that we need to allow ourselves to operate in. So I don't know whether I've answered your question. But
very well, and I believe if we pick up what we are getting, we also enable or allow our kids to find their own paths and excel with our support. And now I'll move into the STEM space. And yes, our children, especially from the secondary school performances, if you look even at the science and mathematics, we'll realize there's quite, over the years, there's been poor performances in this area. Further, if we even go into the professional space, we are seeing some skill gaps when it comes to cybersecurity, engineering, and even areas of, say, robotics, or even literally what most of the career lines that are stemming from STEM. So how is STEM helpful in building these skill gaps?
So maybe I'll take your question and break it down in different parts. Because there are a lot of things that happen, not just when a child is born, but throughout their entirety until they become an adult. And a lot of that is influenced by their space and the people that they're around. So already, what we have seen as Funky Science a lot of times is when we started off thinking we want to have a group of adults where we can talk about STEM and we can talk about STEM things. Because I mentioned I am an industrial chemist, my co-founder is a geologist, environmental geologist. So like in the quote unquote world, we are geeks. So a lot of things that we speak about sound very up there. And a lot of times when we were speaking science, other people would look at us like, yes, exactly what the comment she just made, and like, what's going on? And to some extent, it's also our fault as scientists because we don't soften the words. So when we started Funky Science, it came as an accident. We went for a literary event. I don't know if any of you know Story Moja Hay Festival, where they said, I've had yeses, so at least it's not foreign, where they said, okay, we only have books and children coming to do books and doing coloring and that sort of thing. Let's bring in a scientist for just. So one of the organizers called me up and said, would you like to do this? I'm in campus. It looks like good money, you know, because you need pocket money to move from point A to point B. So we took it up and did some of the science experiments. And for us, it was not foreign. We've experienced it in the lab, we've seen it, and we're wondering, why are people getting amazed with something as simple as using a paper to show capillarity? So that now sparked for us an interest where we may be doing a disservice to the society where we are complicating science. And that's when now it came up that we should start speaking in simpler language, simpler terms, breaking down different concepts to make them easier. So of course, as we were speaking our science, we said, let's work with high school students. But then the other thing that happens in high school is that your mind has already been made up and set up that chemistry is hard. If it's moles, I don't understand it. I will never understand moles for as long as I live. If it's doing electricity experiments, I will not understand. Robotics, why am I connecting wires with each other and then the device is moving? Why should I learn it? So then that led us to now realize that we should start this conversation from when the children are as little as possible. Because now what happens is we're able to shift your mindset to see that, like I explained, I walked here, it was friction. You see, when the teacher is breaking down the friction concept, it's a law. If I'm not wrong, it's a law of friction, and then you're given all the possibilities of why it cannot happen and how it cannot happen. So what we would want even for how STEM to be taught is to be very practical. So that if I'm telling you, just like how I said about capillarity, or if you're watching any of our videos, then you're able to see, oh yeah, okay, this is what the teacher was trying to explain, and this is how I can do it. And you see, when you break down that concept, it's not just easy enough for the child, but also we forget as adults, we don't want to overconsume something very difficult and then just be slapped in the face. So break down these concepts, make the language more appealing. And even for us, that's what we're trying to do, especially with touchy topics right now like climate change. Trying to do experiments that show if you don't take care of your water bodies, what is going to happen to us, things like that, so that it breaks down the concept for the population.
Now that brings us to the point where, you know, the way sometimes you can just mention a certain maybe curriculum and we'll go, hiyo ni mababi. STEM to date in Kenya, it doesn't sound like, you know, well, it's something we are all struggling with, yeah? And so even where we have the underrepresented and the marginalized areas, we find there's that conflict of maybe the students' identities against the STEM identity. So how do we actually, or rather, what can we implement to foster self-efficacy, where we can also foster self-identity to now align with how students can relate and feel like they belong in STEM?
That's a very interesting question, and I think I may have spoken about it in different areas, but I'll still continue speaking about it. And I believe very strongly in the power of storytelling. Why? Because like I mentioned, so there are not a lot of girls doing STEM. So whenever I mention I'm doing industrial chemistry, with so much confidence, someone's like, what? Girls do industrial chemistry, you know? So it's also breaking that conversation that we look the same. So we're girls here and I've done industrial chemistry, I've not died, I've not changed in any way, but I'm still doing it. Same with children and communities that feel marginalized. So I'll plug in like some of the work that we've done with Funky Science, and granted, I think I know Elewa is here, so I've met Lily before, and Msingi Park is here, so we've also worked in the same cohort with Mastercard Foundation, where they're really pushing for us to go out there and to reach as many learners as possible. We're waiting for Kuka to join us. She'll join us soon, crossing our fingers. So we are getting sort of allowance to test our products at different places. And as Funky Science, what we've done is we've tested doing science experiments, especially for groups that, quote unquote, do not have the ability to pay or the ability to access to what we're doing. And what that brings is the child, the teacher, and the school are very appreciative of these resources being brought closer to them. Because truthfully, maybe even Dixon can correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to a site visit in different schools, not all schools are equal. So we also have to work together to keep speaking about these schools that are not equal for them to reach that same level. So it's not just saying, hey, I know 10 schools in this area that can't reach this level. But as you as an individual, what else have you done to push that school to a higher level? So as Funky Science, for sure, we've worked with different schools in different areas where it's not just us, it's even a partner who pays for the service. It's even an alumni association of the school that pays and says, hey, I want you to teach maybe 200 students in St. George's, and we're like, yeah. So the more we keep also speaking about what each person is doing, because I think I've mentioned also we've worked together and I've met quite a few of the people in the panel. I know them personally. So it's sort of, when we get out of here, what else are we going to go out there and tell the rest of the population so that they're aware that these services exist and they're there for us as Africans?
Yeah, so let's keep on spreading the word and ensure that we keep on the awareness going, and we can never really have enough awareness. As we keep on growing, we keep on needing more information, and we keep being enlightened with the many advances we've made even in this space. And now let's shift the conversation a bit to conversational learning. In conversational learning, we find that participants engage in conversations with one another. And we share perspectives, we ask questions. In this case, I think I'm the one asking. And we discuss ideas where we even come up in collectively to construct knowledge. So, would you say that what we are currently having is a conversational learning?
To some extent, yes. But for us, we define conversational learning slightly differently. Dixon had mentioned earlier, his house help has WhatsApp. She's consuming so much content on WhatsApp, but she's not necessarily going out there to learn something specific, a specific skill. So for us, that's where we come in. We have built a learning management system that is focused on delivering content, educational content, on those messaging platforms that people are on. It's built for the African context. You know, most people are consuming the internet on their phones. And if you have a smartphone, you're using WhatsApp every single day. Yeah. Like the WhatsApp penetration across the developing world is kind of insane. It's like 98% plus. So if these people are already, I don't know, talking to their friends on WhatsApp, why can't we also teach them something while they're on WhatsApp? And the reason we call it conversational learning is because we break it down in a way that kind of simulates that same interaction that you'd have if you were talking to a friend or a family member on WhatsApp. So it's very engaging, and that's why we call it conversational. So it's chatbot based, but again, the focus is for you to learn something.
Yeah, I like that, and it recalls the conversation, the element of, when we used to say communication is two-way, right? And in conversation, there has to be that active listening element. So how do you ensure that even on your platforms you have this active listening, open-mindedness, and even people are able to, the various viewpoints are able to be explored by, say, student or any learner who interfaces with your technologies?
Yeah, that's a good question, and something that we try to work on every single day. So one of the things that we do when we deliver this content, we add in points of engagement for the learner. So on WhatsApp, I don't know if any of you have interacted with a service that maybe might have a button that you have to click, and then it's kind of your response. So we add those points in between. Tracy already talked about how it's important to give people bite-sized information. So if I'm talking to you about, I don't know, photosynthesis, let's say, I will describe what photosynthesis is. I will define what photosynthesis is. But that definition can be a very long paragraph. So why don't I give it to you in small pieces? Again, when you're chatting with someone on WhatsApp, you're not writing full paragraphs. I mean, if you are, I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, there's a problem there. So we'll define it simply, and then we'll ask for your feedback. So it will be, have you understood? Or it will be like, oh, is that correct? We could ask you for your opinion as well, so you can type in like a response. So we kind of try to make it interactive, even though the interaction is with a chatbot. We ask the learner for their opinion. At the end, we also use different sort of media for giving this information. It's not just text-based, because that can also get boring. I don't think I've ever gone on an LMS and enjoyed just having to watch a long form video. I have to read like a long PDF of, 20 pages defining one concept. So we put in different, and you spoke about it earlier, different ways of learning, right? So we'll add videos, we'll add images, we'll add text, so we'll put in PDF documents as well for reference materials. And then of course now we have the chat-based learning itself.
So I like something with the lower. It's in how you say conversational learning is taken as a journey of discovery where knowledge flows in both directions. And that's exactly what you're describing. So when we are looking at even, say, sparking conversations, even, you know, I am a learner. If I'm able to literally pick something and spark conversations going forward, that information means it doesn't die with me, but rather it lives on and continues to spark that fire. So how are you able to build up on this sparking of information, forging these connections, and be able to foster collaboration in conversational learning?
So part of the reason why we actually decided to go into this was when you think about how institutions train people, it's usually cascading model, right? So you have the managers, those are the people who are the most exposed, they get all the best trainings, and then they're expected to come into the companies and train the people below them, and then those people keep going and training, like that cascading model. The problem with that is when I go for a training, when I go for a conference, the information I share with the next person is what has resonated with me. It's not necessarily the full training in its entirety. And so there's a lot of context that's lost there, there's a lot of information that's lost there. So when you're talking about how we spark this conversation, how we share this knowledge, everyone is able to access exactly the same material. So we're kind of eliminating the need for someone else to be a middleman, to be the person who's controlling who gets to access that information and when. If you're talking about, let's say, a hospital with nurses, these nurses need to be upskilled. All of them can come in their time. They can access the same learning material. They can be assessed on it on the platform. And so you can gauge who has learned what and at what level. And then, of course, on top of that, you have to have these knowledge sharing sessions where they can come in and they can say, I learned this, I had a patient who had this problem, this is how we manage that patient, this worked for me, this didn't work for me. Another one can say, hey, I learned this, it didn't really work in the way that was described, but I tried this and that worked. So at the end of the day, it's about learning the theory, but it's also about having those conversations where now that peer-to-peer learning can also happen, because then that also kind of takes it to the next level where it's not just, I've learned it, I think I've maybe retained it. We're also talking about, okay, if I've retained it, how else can I help the next person?
You've exactly pointed out on everyone should actually have the opportunity to reach their full potential. And when you look even at our professional development and even our journeys of life where we improve ourselves, when it comes to conversational learning, what are some of the projects that people could explore and use in ways in which that can accelerate their talent?
Is there specific context?
Yeah, could there be projects that you could give or, advice that can be taken within the conversational learning aspect to facilitate acceleration of talents? Given that you've talked of nursing, there could be teachers, and we are also seeing there could be gaps even in teaching, not just what even the generation is coming on with, but even I want to develop myself, say, cybersecurity. I am in the nursing field. Someone else is maybe, that person who wants to even gain more better knowledge in guarding. So what are the, resources or projects that one can explore in order to amplify or accelerate their talents in the various fields?
So it's entirely agnostic, actually. So we've worked with teachers, we've worked with school leaders, we've worked with the nurses that I've talked about, we've worked with farmers. So it's a platform that can be applied to literally any sort of context. It just depends on what the objectives are. Something that we're exploring now is, you mentioned cybersecurity, so how can people protect themselves online? How can people who are working in a company, how can those companies train them on identifying things like phishing attacks and that sort of thing? Because those are important. A lot of companies are hacked not because a hacker has actually gone into the system, it's because someone has clicked a link in an email, And those are very basic things that we should all know, but that knowledge isn't out there. And a lot of companies also don't spend the time to train their staff on that. But yeah, I would just say for us, because we are more focused, we are B2B, so we work with companies to create that training material for them. We don't really sell courses publicly. There's still a lot of companies out there doing mobile e-learning that are selling. You can look at ZD. ZD has a lot of training materials. That's just one off the top of my head. But if you just Google something as simple as farmer education, WhatsApp, you'll find so many resources. If you're talking about cybersecurity, WhatsApp, you'll find all those courses. So it's really just, I mean, Google is a really great resource. If you use ChatGPT, go ask it, it'll find you the links that you need, and you can access all of those materials.
I think we're making it quite obvious that today, in a connected world, information is vast, and that aligns with the various needs. So wherever you are, whatever your task is, you can always get the right platform, the right information, and the right place where your journey can continuously grow. And now let's talk vocations. And now, Bayo, we see that vocational education and training centers are quite instrumental. However, most people may be ignorant, if I may say, in terms of this space, what it offers, and how it can impact themselves. So we look at vocational centers. It's something that actually influences all sectors, irrespective of whatever field you are in, both in an informal and even formal ways. So we literally see that vocational training and educational centers are able to supply or even support both working, say, work-based learning, and also we are seeing that it's able to support school-based learning. So how can we optimize ICT in advanced learning when it comes to vocational learning?
Okay, thank you very much. The TVET institutions, as we refer to them, have prepared themselves to uptake online training. And we have some platforms. Actually, we have a platform hosted by the School of TVET. We call it ODEL, Online Distance Electronic Learning. And most of the TVETs now are mapped on that program to offer online programs. I am a trainer in Kabete Polytechnic, and I serve as a registrar at the same time. And we are already running full-time program online. So we are also doing some pilot for, I would call them common units, which the trainees have, so that we pilot and see how we can roll it out, maybe latest next year. Programs which are common, like employability, like life skills, like whatever communication skills. We're already trying them out, but we already have a course running full-time online. So I think TVETs are not left behind. The School of TVET, not talking on their behalf, but they've really done a lot in mobilizing and desensitizing TVETs to embrace online platforms and online teaching. So they've done a lot of TOT, train of the trainer, to be able to uptake that task.
So when it comes to initiatives and various opportunities that have been aligned in TVETs, how can we say, or rather, what has been put in place to also support disadvantaged groups? And here we are looking at people with disabilities. We are looking at even people who, for one reason, have to labor during the day, and maybe the time they have is off, or rather flexible times in the evening or any other on the weekend. And even sometimes it's on the people with little income, because even for online platforms, there has to be some element of support in terms of financial aspect. but that can also sometimes come at a limiting point for the learner. So what are these initiatives and opportunities that are in place, especially to support these disadvantaged groups?
Okay, I think that is one area that TVETs are struggling with, to be very honest. When it comes to PWDs, it's like we have a directive now from the MOE regarding PWDs in our institutions, that we must be able to accommodate them. But it's a bit challenging for some, especially depending on the disability. For example, the deaf. The deaf are a bit challenged in most, the deaf and the blind, in most of the TVETs, such that maybe they can only go to those TVETs which are designated for that kind of a person. But for the rest, then TVETs are putting in place means to accommodate them, maybe ramps in classrooms, special chairs for maybe like short people. We are trying, but I can say it's an area which I don't think we've even done 1/8 of what we should. And it's an area most institutions are actually struggling to see how they can go around it.
So this brings us to even looking at the challenges that most institutions are having. And it's quite raw in how we are and the expectations or even the need we have with what is in place. And I believe even in learning differently, when you are responding to that, I wondered, for the blind, you know, the way we can learn with the brailles here, but how can we facilitate the same with online learning? In terms of people with blindness, I feel even hearing challenges and disabilities, you find that whenever we have something visual, and this is even from children, from experience, some visuals have actually facilitated learning in this respect. So are there, say, any forward-looking efforts that are being put in place to ensure that at least even where we are having underserved communities, where we are having maybe marginalized communities, we are able to measure and address the gaps with accessing industrial training opportunities?
Yes, I would say there is, because that detail is very well captured in our performance contracting document. So it's like a mandatory to do thing for the institution. So the only challenge probably could be they come in small numbers, maybe 2 or 3, so you are not quite able to group them. You must individualize that training to that particular training, and that's why it's been much more comfortable when they are put in one particular institution. For example, the Machakos School for the Deaf. So you'll find, or the current school for the deaf. So you'll find them being confined there, and the government concentrates their grants in those specific institutions. But these other PWDs, maybe short people, maybe people on crutches and people like that, those people we are actually able to accommodate, and we are able to handle them. Yes.
So could you share some of the successful outcomes when it comes to efforts by TVETs in promoting equal learning opportunities for all? Some of your successful outcomes.
Okay. I trust you are talking about equity. Okay. We are very keen on female students in engineering. And I'm sure the STEM lady will be very happy with that. And I would also say we catch it also on our performance contracting. So if we set a target of the females we are going to have in an engineering program, and we don't meet that target, then we are said to have failed. And nobody wants to fail in meeting their targets. So we are very keen on getting women to do engineering courses. And also for the trainers. When we do our interviews, because now we do the interviews ourselves, we are able to get female trainers who are in engineering, because they help us motivate and pull the girls to the engineering side. We also have areas where the courses are female dominated. So we also need equity in that. We look for men, like in hairdressing. We try and sensitize the males to join those programs. It's very tough though in some of them, because I think the society has placed some courses for men and for women, but we're trying to break that cycle and letting people know that you can still do another course, a female-dominated course. So in terms of the PWDs, people living with disabilities, I'm saying we are able to accommodate some types of PWDs, but not all of them. Actually, last year, I think we attempted to pick a blind person on Braille, and the person was not able to cope, because even after the classroom, there's the navigation around. And when most of them are sighted, they are not very bothered about this one. So you find the trainee really struggled, and we had to relocate them. So it's an area, I would say, especially with PWDs, there's still a bit of struggle in trying to bring about equity. But in terms of courses and females and males, we are really trying to sensitize the society so that males can go where females dominate, females can go where males seem to dominate.
Now that brings us to the reality of things where, as earlier said, one may have to evaluate whether they want to buy bread or whether they should consider advancing themselves, or sometimes, is food necessary to taking my child to school? Or, well, you need to elevate yourself from one point to another, but something else in terms of your necessities will suffer. This brings us to Consolata Self-Help Group. So, one, when we hear about self-help, there's those ones where it's helping myself as a self. And then we have this thing in our mind where maybe nikachama, merry-go-round. Could you tell us what what a self-help group in context of Consolata is, and where we are tied down in terms of such decisions? How do you come into play in supporting and alleviating the economic burden, especially when it comes to learning?
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll speak a bit about Consolata Shrine Self-Help Group, and specifically Squirrel Kids Club. Now, our role is to facilitate saving and issue credit. We act more or likely like a circle. Yes, we have around 506 active members now, with savings of around 28 million. But for today, we'll speak about Squirrel Kids. That is our minor account. And we have around 40 active members with savings of 250,000. Now, who regulates us? We work under the Archdiocese of Nairobi, under Caritas Nairobi. And it was formed 40 years back by the late Maurice Michael Cardinal Otunga. Our objectives are saving, support through cross-guarantorships programs across the Archdiocese of Nairobi. You can get a guarantor not only in Consolata, but in all self-help groups across the Archdiocese. So you can go to St. Paul's, you can go to Holy Family, you can go to St. Catherine of Siena, all churches that are registered under Caritas Nairobi. 3, our third objective is success, economic prosperity through loans or credit. Lastly, surplus, distribution of surplus at the end of each financial year. For those who have joined SACCOs, you might have realized that you have dividends at the end of the year. Dividends are subject to withholding tax. Now for ours, we don't have withholding tax. All the profits we make, when we minus expenses, we share equally among members according to how you saved. Now, what are the benefits of our Squirrel Kits? Maybe let me mention how you can save, what you'll get from joining Squirrel Kits. Or why Squirrel Kits first? We chose to work on Squirrel Kits so that we can double the benefit. One, when we register adults, you come as an individual. But when we get the kids, we get the parent as well. Because as you register the minor, you have to have a principal, and the principal is the parent. And we have a very little amount of money to pay monthly, which is 50 bob, because we are targeting the lowest in society. Now, why squirrel of all animals? Squirrels have a phenomenal ability to change their behavior to survive, including finding, storing, and retrieving nuts. This puts them close to humans' ability to meet the long-dated future goals, such as saving money. One of the biggest benefits of teaching kids to save money is that it helps them understand, 1, the value of money, and 2, that money is a limited resource and they need to manage it carefully. Now, let me give a few examples of age-appropriate financial literacy. We are targeting your kids. I'll start between the ages of 3 to 5. When you have kids who are between 3 and 5 years, they observe money transactions taking place in the family and can understand the concepts of spending, saving, and giving money. What is the suggested activity? Get any loose change in the house, have your child split it equally among 2 jars, one for saving and another for spending. Once they reach their savings goal, they can use their spending money to buy a reward. You can try this at your home. Second, we move to the ages of between 6 and 12. Their money behaviors are more deeply ingrained. This is the period where parents open a savings account for their kids so that they can deposit their allowance and see it grow over time. Allowances in this case can be from simple chores like making the bed or setting up the table before supper.
Rono?
Now, what is the...
Sorry to interject.
Yeah.
So I would ask, when it comes to, say, the group,
yeah,
how do we ensure access to educational resources for all members? If you can try to sum it up a bit.
Educational resources for?
For all members. You've talked of Squirrel as one of the avenues where you are encouraging members to open Squirrel accounts for their kids. And how do you partake of the educational journey? Say, already could be like your members want to elevate their educational journey. Maybe they want to study in a certain area. Maybe we need special skills for certain children, or even partnerships where you're able to collaborate with other partners. How, as the self-help group, have you been able to bring about efforts that could be able to enhance educational opportunities for your members?
I think first we start with financial literacy, which I was explaining, because once the head of the household or the parent is not financially literate, that cycle tends to move down to the kids, and then we have that cycle of poverty moving on. That's why I wanted to speak about financial literacy first, so that once the kids understand the value of saving, now we can move to what are you saving for? Are you saving for education? Are you saving for maybe enhancing the way your kids are accessing the same education? That is getting a laptop, getting a computer, buying internet bundles, depending on where you are. So have I gotten your question right?
Yes, so the aspect of the question is coming from, are there any maybe collaborations or partnerships that you have as a circle that even your members can explore? And how even in your credit provision or in terms of your products, how can maybe your members tap into that in order to drive their goals when it comes to maybe today I'm stuck with maybe a child learning a certain skill. Could be like myself, today I'm not able to go forth with that certain learning need. I am constrained in getting a lump sum amount to pay for a certain need, but continuously I can break it or pay it back into small bits. So is there something that people can explore in terms of these avenues that can enhance or even promote learning?
None for us. As we are mainly, our core business is, as I said, facilitating saving and issue credit. Now, education comes in when you're not able to get school fees for your child. That's when we support. But in regards to educational training and technology and education, none for us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I want to open questions to the floor, that we can be able to shoot our questions and we can have our panel members respond to your questions.
Thank you very much, panelists. My name is Anthony Mugo, and my question is not directed to any of the panelists can pick it up. We're having a big challenge of the issue of connecting training and employability. The other day, the president talked about useless courses being offered in universities. So the question is, how do we align training with industry needs so that if I'm educating my child to go to university and get employment, at least I am directing them to courses that are going to make them employable? That's one thing. The other one, we are told there are courses that are going to be, what is it called, obsolete because of AI. I know there's someone who is talking about AI. And the question is, should people continue, pursuing these courses, knowing that in 5 to 10 years they are going to be obsolete? I think it's a comment and a point of thought, and if there's a response, that would be very, very good to hear. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a round of questions, around 5, and then.
Thank you very much. My name is Daniel Aoko. My question is directed to Tibet. There is the issue of the online learning that is going on, which is very excellent. But then there's also the issue of the change of the curriculum to CBET now, where we are saying that you are training somebody to approach the industrial needs. Now, how do you ensure that those people who are doing online learning have also the skills that they require? Because those who are there physically, they can get into the practical aspect. But how does the TVET ensure that that person who is learning online also has those practical skills that they can be able to implement when they get to the industry? Because we are saying that CPET is about producing somebody who is able to comply to the needs of the market and the industry. So how do you ensure that? Then how are you ensuring that there is a smooth transition between the old system and the CPET? What is the preparedness that the TVET has to ensure that they are now able to align what they call the competence curriculum, which comes up with the occupational standards and the curriculum design? How do they complement this to ensure that they meet the needs of the industry and the business world?
Okay, one last question. Maybe we've had two gentlemen, so we can have a lady, and that said, I'll come back to you. Sorry. Trying to balance. I don't know whose hand went up first.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Also, my question goes to TVET, and it has to do with students with learning difficulties. And I heard that you talked very much about students with obvious disabilities, deaf, blind, maybe physically challenged. But I would like now to see where you link with the lady who talked about students who learn differently, like they are mildly autistic, or they could be having ADHD. How do you accommodate them in the technical colleges? Thank you.
Let me take from her, then I'll come back. There are three hands this side. I've not them.
Thank you. My name is Rosanne Yabera. I think all the presentations have been really good and reflective. My first question is, we know majority of children are taught by most of the teachers who have gone through the normal training. So where are we meeting? Because if they don't know how to diagnose a child with disability, then is there something? Is there collaboration so that they are able to identify these children early? And then on the AI and e-learning, so where I work, we do a lot of online trainings. But there's a problem with verification, because I can sit here and do for my friend and will pass. So when it comes to employment, you're trying to verify. So when the person comes on the ground, totally they have no idea. So what are we doing to be able to verify these online courses? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take those questions first, and then we'll do a final round of questions. So the first question was connecting to the industry by Anthony Mugo. How do we connect these children to the industry? Maybe one of you can take it. Considering that whatever you're doing, how does it connect to the industry and address those needs? Yeah.
Okay. So I talked a lot about the conversational learning that we do at Elewa, but we also run an apprenticeship program. So if you think about coding in Kenya, a lot of what is happening is you have a lot of boot camps. So you have a lot of people who are graduating, but they have like very basic skills, and those skills are not necessarily applicable in the business world. So what we do is we run a 2-year apprenticeship program. We work with developers. We're taking them from junior to senior in those 2 years. There's 40 skills they need to have acquired by the time they graduate, both hard skills and soft skills. We're just trying to find a way for us to enable these graduates to build a portfolio, work on a commercial project, but also build up their skill set. Something that we're now starting to do is we're partnering with Moringa School as well. If you know, Moringa School runs a lot of training programs for coders. We've seen that there's a challenge with, like you said, people or graduates finding employability because they theoretically on paper have the skills but can't actually apply it. And the problem that we have in Kenya is a lot of employers are not willing to hire people and train them up. So we're working with Moringa School. We're building up a curriculum where the graduates that go through their programs will actually be able to work on a commercial project. So we piloted this last year. Part of my product, Gumza, the conversational learning product, was actually built by Moringa School students. So we'd put up, let's call them tasks, and then they could pick up those tasks and they could work on them. So they're building up a portfolio. All this is done on a platform called GitHub, where coders go and document how they've built a product. So they can actually show that, hey, I've contributed in this way to this commercial project. Obviously, they're learning as they're going through it because they're being supervised by a senior developer. But also they're getting a chance to actually apply what they're learning in the classroom into, like an actual product, a real commercial project. I would say my challenge would also be for the people in the room who are working. We talk about how our children aren't able to get jobs, but you also can be the one who provides that opportunity for someone. A lot of employers aren't willing to hire people without skills, but they want, it's an entry-level job, but you have to have skills. That doesn't work. Someone has to train these people. So my challenge to you is, can you be the one who provides those opportunities as well? If your child is not able to get a job, someone else's child is also not able to get a job. So we can also solve this problem that we're facing.
Thank you. We'll try and keep it to like one question, question, so that we can
we'll have the TVET responding to the other question.
Okay, I think I will also respond to that question now, or to both questions. How are we matching skills we are training with what the industry requires? And that is what brought about the change in the model of training that we have. We are coming from a knowledge-based model, we call it KIBET, and we are moving to CBET, competency-based education and training. Now, in KIBET, we were looking at a curriculum which has been made at Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. In CBET, we are looking at occupational standards, which have been written in collaboration with the trainers and the industry. So the industry comes and says what they want to have. We have a sector skills advisory committee, which is an industry representation. And when we say industry, we don't mean this one person who works at maybe Bidco, who works at breweries. We mean an association, for example, Engineering Board of Kenya. We mean Pharmacy and Poisons Board, Medical Laboratory Board. So those representatives have formed the sector skills who sit with us, and we make the occupational standards. So the industry person tells us, for example, we are making bread. So he tells us how bread is made in industry. So we put it in writing, how bread is made in industry. And then we make a curriculum. As trainers now, we write a way of teaching that or training that. Then obviously when this person is trained and goes out and goes to Broadway's or to a bread company, we'll now be able to make the bread the way they told us they want the bread to be made. So occupational standards we've made occupational standards, and we have harmonized those occupational standards. Now different polytechnics have made occupational standards, but the whole of last month we were sitting to harmonize them so that we have national occupational standards, which are domiciled or hosted by CDAC, Curriculum Development Accreditation Council. So they hold those occupational standards that anybody else can pick those standards and train. Anybody can pick those standards and train. So we are preparing this uptick of CBC. Remember, CBC is what is coming up now. So as tertiary institutions, we have also now come with CBET. We are preparing to uptake that action-oriented kind of training. So I'm thinking the first cohort from the polytechnics will be around 2025, end of 2025. That's the first time we will get that kind of a trainee who has been through the competence education-based training. And the person must not actually take the whole program. You may just learn a competency, like how to bake. you are not interested in anything else, you just bake. Or how to do the mixing of whatever drinks, and just that. So I think in that we are preparing ourselves. Then someone talked about online and practicals. Now we've dualized our training with the industry. Dualized means we have modeled it that you are in school now, or you are in class now, but the next block you are not in class, you are in industry. So this online is dualized. So someone is in class this term, but the other term, they are at their actual place of work, because most of those people are people who are already working. So, and they have mentors at their place of work. So we are able to get a report. We have a way we collect that information, what the mentor says. The mentor is like the supervisor of that person. So they are able to give us a report of how the person is faring on. So it's not purely theory. And there is also a month when they have to come to school, because they have now to be assessed practically, physically in the labs. Yeah, so it's a blended sort of a training. I would not call it purely online. Yeah.
So what we can pick, and I'm also just in the interest of time, we'll be able to sum it up, because I believe our timekeeper is concerned on the same. So we can pick that even in matters of learning, it's key that whatever is being learned has to have an element of application. And even in terms of a journey, there has to be a trickle into someone who has already walked the journey with the skills, with the experience, to trickle it even in the younger ones that are there. Above all, it's key for us to be able to utilize resources that are online. Today, even with the many aspects of whatever is happening, you've even heard of virtual realities and whatnot. There are virtual labs, which literally give you more of the experience which you can actually have even on the physical aspects. And in respect of knowledge and everything, even on the international certification, you'll find that you may have 40 hours of active participation in learning, in practical, and you can implement the same for years. So it's in how we model our learning, it's in how we put in the practice, and aligning that. Above all, around the questions, there's the question of collaboration that comes on board. Note that even today, even in the gaps we see in the education, especially even in areas of special learning, there's a lot that lacks in terms of the government support in terms, but we are seeing some of the ways in which they are coming up with policies and everything. A call for us all is also to partake of the policy development process. The government cannot make it by themselves, but rather in collaboration with all of us. Every industry, every sector has got its authority, or rather the regulatory body, whether in ICT, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in any area of speciality. Let's learn to collaborate. Let's learn to trickle the same. Let's not just push the blame to government when we have not made the effort. There are avenues today that are present and available for us to spew this information. Let's take that advantage and ensure the same happens. Also, in our communities, what are you doing to change the history of how things are done? Where you are, and we saw even the schools where, yes, you are in the online curriculum development. You're seeing the underserved communities, the marginalized areas. There may be schools that may be able to afford certain platforms or resources, but how do you extend the talents you have, the services you have, in a way that is also affordable for everyone, so that there's that equity, you're able to share this with everyone, and so we have a smooth flow of knowledge, information. Today, if I don't have a smartphone, I can access even information on how to farm potatoes, right? That is technology that is making this possible. That is technology that is advancing and bringing about convenience in how we are doing about, and even how we are going about life. So what we can take home today from our discussions, our panel members, is that technology is here and it's advancing. And it's not advancing in order to limit us in who we are, in what we do, and even in our capabilities, but it's able to enhance who we are and extend us in one way or another. AI today as it is, and there was the point where people fear it, but rather if I can spend 100 hours in doing something, whereas I could be able to use the platform where this technology is to collectively do all, give me various resources. You are told about how you can go about Googling, but even in terms of even how this can be summed up to you, the information is now available to you. Now, instead of taking 100 hours, you'll end up using 2 hours. Why? Because technology enables much. AI as it is, when you talk virtual learning, AI has a lot to do. Many were not able even to understand the heart, the body. But today a child in school, CBC learning, can be able to feel more of how the heart, what the veins look like, and even identify aspects of various areas in STEM. Be able to apply this in their life, and even have a better way of understanding life itself, understanding themselves, and be able to input who they are. Wherever we are in growing, we encourage you to learn, to grow, and at this point we'll close our questions. And one thing I want to just ask us to appreciate our panel today by a very good round of applause. And can we? That's not it. Let's hear thunders and storms. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate our panel, and I want to appreciate your time. There's been immense knowledge that has been shared, a lot, even in learning from each other. And let's collaborate as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the panel. I know there are a couple of questions that have not been responded to. Kindly, we have our desks. All our partners are here. They're not going to leave immediately, so please feel free to engage after. And we also have some of our partners who have not spoken. We'll just give them a minute because of time. So we'll have one person from Elewa, Lily. Please quickly, Lily. Ken from Funlins. Msingi Park. John from Prompt AI. Britam and Isaiah. Kindly. Just come. You have a minute. Yeah, 1 minute to speak.
I can start this.
Yeah,
I can start
please.
this from here.
Tell us about Consolata.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just quickly sum up what we do at Elewa. I think I've already talked a lot about it, so I'll keep it brief. We are an education innovation company, so every activity that we do has something to do with education. So I talked about the 2-year apprenticeship program. Again, that is for software developers. We're training them over 2 years from junior to senior level. We're plugging them into client projects. A lot of them are based in Europe, but we also have projects in Kenya and in South Africa. And the point of that is, again, to make sure that even as they learn this theoretical concept in school, that they're also able to apply that in an actual industrial context. And of course, the other side of what we do is we provide education consulting services. So we work with institutions to create content for their audiences, whether it is internal, training their staff, or external, it could be their customers, or it could be, in the case of NGOs, perhaps just the general public, to help them kind of reach the audiences that they want in a scalable and cost-effective way, and that's why we developed Gumza, the conversational learning platform. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mercy from a company called Msingi Park. We are digital publishers of CBC content. Currently, we have content from grade 1 to grade 6, and we've been able to service more than 2,000 schools so far, and we are continuing reaching to more and more We've recently partnered with Safaricom, where you're able to access content for 24 hours. So if you have your smartphone with you, kindly dial *124 *1#, and you'll be able to access our running materials. Let me note that what we currently have, we have notes in form of videos. We have assessment where the system auto-marks, and the child is able to be ranked on their performance. And the child can go through the content as many times as possible. So if a child is having a difficulty in certain areas, they're able to revise the materials as many times as possible. So thank you so much. Kindly later, once you're done, come to our desk. We'll be able to tell you more about us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Aenda from Prompt AI. With me is my CEO, Mr. Omar Francis. Can just wave for you behind there. Now, Prompt AI is a tripartite institution. We have PEN, which is a WhatsApp forum, that is Party Education Network. And what we do is we have webinars every Wednesday to train teachers on how to incorporate or integrate AI in classes. We realize teachers are a bit shy when it comes to incorporating AI. They say this thing is helping students to cheat, but not quite. So just as a calculator, if you give a child a calculator before he learns some numeric skills, what you do is he loses that out. Now ChatGPT is like a word calculator. Give it to a child early, and kind of the wording skills or writing skills definitely may be lost. And UNESCO prescribes that 13 years and above, they can use AI. And the genie is out of the bottle. Okay, so as teachers, we just have to embrace and use it. As an institution, we have Prompt AI Technologies, where we develop chatbots for self-study, and we train students on self-study. Prompt AI Technologies, we also publish books, mind maps, and diagrams in all subjects of secondary schools. We have a sample of a book there, you can be able to see. And we say, as you see TVET institutions and the ministry going around, the beginning of self-learning or personalized curriculum is in measuring how we learn, okay? And we have the most common learning skill inventories that are used to do that. We realize in our webinars, most teachers don't get it, measuring learning skill. Somebody say, if students can't learn the way we teach them, then let us, teachers, teach them the way they want to learn.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what we are doing. So you come to our table and you will get more.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Prompt AI. So we have a QR code that is going to be projected. We want to be interactive as much as possible. I know with the limitation of time, so you feel free to scan it. You can type in your questions. We'll try to respond to them because it will take your email as well. Then we can always keep in touch. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Oh, is it afternoon? Good afternoon. This is the first time we are attending the professionals group, so thank you for the invitation. Our chairman is here. I'm from the Consolata self-help group. It's been very enlightening, and I really commend everybody for what they're doing, because we know that education is going to play a part for our development, our continent, our country, our communities, right? And the fact that now technology can reach even the marginalized and even the differently abled is amazing. So thank you everybody for what you're doing. What I would like to say, as on top of what our chairman was saying here, is look at us in self-help group as the enablers. So we know that the economy is quite tight. We know that we're being taxed left, right, and center today in our operating environment. So whenever you're our member and you're saving with us, feel free to come through and access these programs. Don't let your children miss the opportunity because of lack of maybe funding. That's why we are here. So look at us as enablers for the same. To your question, I think it was Josephine who was talking about partnerships. Last year when we had our Squirrel Club activity, about almost 100 kids were brought by their parents. And part of it was actually on the back of partnering with Funky Kids, right? So we partnered with Funky Kids. So again, similarly this year in August, we're having the Squirrel Club event. So if there's any of you who wants to actually partner with us, please speak to us. We're right at the corner, but we also have the offices Monday to Friday at the Consolata grounds. Thank you.
Allow me to take you back to when you graduated high school and had to pick a course to pursue in uni. How was the experience? Was it confusing or challenging perhaps? Because I know I faced that. And within many students, about 500,000 students face this yearly after they graduate from 4. They have their grades and the COOPS portal waiting, but they don't know which courses will align well with their unique potentials and abilities. And that is where Classify Me comes in. We are a company driven by the sole desire to help high school graduates make better and more informed decisions about the courses they want to pursue when they go to uni. With this, we provide a better launch pad, because choosing a course to pursue in uni is one of the most important professional decisions every high school students make. So visit us at the table behind there, Classify Me. Invite us to come and talk to your students and also see a way to make more fulfilled and dignified work possible in Kenya and beyond. Thank you. My name is Linda. I'm the CEO of Classify Me.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity. A huge appreciation to the organizers. It's been a very successful event so far. My name is Kevin Mugo from Fundlings Entertainment. What we usually do is to provide mentorship and training for children and also adults when it comes to modern technologies, but I'll focus for today on the children's side. And what we do is that we try to impact this knowledge in an easy way to learn, so that when these children maybe specialize into tech skills in the long term, they'll be able to get these skills in an easy or a gentle learning curve. At least a lot of learners transit off from the routes because of maybe the complexity. But when such foundational items and concepts are taught to our children at a very young age, later on or in the long term, they'll be able to gain these skills in the quickest way possible. So a number of the courses that we do offer maybe for children are maybe block-based coding, programming, there's also machine learning, IoT, and also some robotics that are maybe sampled later on our desk over there. And besides that, we also have been able to partner with companies like Visa, Lewa Conservancy, and also Magic Bit. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and it's always a delight to work with all of you. I appreciate it. Have a good day ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Kingori from Codis Africa. Codis Africa is a digital publisher where we teach kids from grade 1 to grade 12 Python coding language. You can visit our desk at the right corner. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Wanjiko. I'm from LSAT Hub and e-learning solutions. And I'm happy to see you today and to share with you what we do. So LSAT Hub is bridging a gap that has been in our learning system for quite some time. And I think now that we're embracing CBC, and we all love CBC and how inclusive it is, and it's aiming and its goals in creating all-rounded humans, I think most of us in this room kind of skipped on the bit of, all-round learning, because we were subjected to a system that forced us on hard skills only, and we kind of missed out on learning in class about our life skills. I think I was sharing with somebody about my experience in high school, where our life skills lessons were always converted into something else. It was always a mathematics class or a chemistry class, because we were told, hizo mtalana dunia, you'll be taught by the world. It came across quite a number of times, but I feel like we kind of missed out in a lot of these skills that would help us in becoming better citizens. So LSAT Hub comes in to bridge a gap of giving us short courses and giving our clients short courses on soft skills, or basically what we call life skills. As now adults, I feel like a lot of us, especially the young people in Kenya, we tend to miss out on some things that we should be taught growing up, and we are forced to learn them by ourselves. Some of them is financial literacy. We have all gone to business classes where we are taught how to create financial reports. We are taught how to report these financial statements to stakeholders if you rise to those positions. But nobody tells you this is how you should manage your financial assets or any other financial strength that you have. So we tend to see that a lot of us young people are misusing our funds. And if we look back, we find ourselves in a situation where we were told, utalan na dunia. Then we come to work, we are taught about entrepreneurship and how you should come up with a good business and how you should ensure that everything is done to the letter. But nobody tells you how you should perform in the world of work. Nobody tells you or shows you how you should perform as a good boss and how you should have good interpersonal skills. So LSAT Hub noticed that we have a gap in such areas, and we decided to bridge that gap by providing short courses on soft skills, purely soft skills, that help people to become better humans as we're interacting with everyone, helps people have interpersonal skills that we never learned in school, because I think we were very much pushed on the hard skills, and we don't blame our generations that were before us, because that is what we were taught best and that is what they had learned best. But I think I love the way the universe is heading and the whole world is going, because we are taking up new challenges and we are taking up new ways that we're viewing the world. So we can now combine hard skills and soft skills to bring out the best in our young people. And I know one of our panelists has said that learning does not end when you are alive, it ends when we are 6 feet under. So in as much as these courses are tailored for young people, they are very much also tailored for older generations. It's not purely for young people, though we are kind of targeting them right now. So everybody is much welcome to check them out. And it's very much purely online. And you can do it at your own time because it's self-paced. So if you have any information or you would want to learn more about us, visit our table, and we're going to share more information on what we do and how we do it. And we are looking forward to seeing you guys at our table. So thank you so much and have a good day.
Good afternoon. My name is Leah. I work with Britam. I really feel encouraged and very well informed of all the advancements that we are having right now, especially in aspects of AI and everything. So as we're still also trying to engage ourselves on the advancements in education, how we want our future to be, we as Britam, we come in, we help you safeguard your dreams, we help you safeguard your investments and all. So let us all now focus on how do we want our kids to be in future. As we advance also, we ensure that we are planning for the kids in terms of finances, definitely, because as we advance, we also know that the cost of education becomes expensive, isn't it? Yeah? So you can visit us at our desk. We can help you plan for your future. We can help you plan for the future of your kids, because whether we are there, we are not, our kids also have to go to school. The kids have to be educated. Thank you so much. Thank you for the information. God bless you.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Aluda from ICA Lion Life Assurance, and I'd love to thank the organizers and the panel for such an interactive and an informative forum. I'd like to share shortly what we do at ICA Lion Life Assurance. We are in the business, we're in the financial sector, financial services, and what we do, we help families create and protect their wealth. You realize we live much more in the future. So we help people and families plan for that eventuality, because you know they usually say whether you plan, whether you fail to plan or plan, how does it go? If you fail to plan, you do what? You plan to fail, isn't it? So basically that's a reality of
all right? And that's also to the front, okay? Okay, guys, that was good. Thank you very much. Some guys didn't get up, but we'll catch you after this, okay? So my job is very easy. First of all, Okay, okay, countdown. You see, human beings are social beings. Okay, so, thank you very much to each one of you who has found time, especially on a Sunday, which is a family day, to be here. Thank you very much for coming. But before that, we must thank our Almighty God, because remember, He's the one who gives us the life to be here, so we thank God for making it possible to be here. But I don't want to do this alone. I know that I have colleagues from the Consolata Shrine Professionals Group, especially the leaders. I'd like them to stand up. This is the time now when the Consolata, the team led by Richard here, just stand up a bit so that we say thank you to you guys for organizing this. Okay, Fina? Anyone who has this, something like this? Okay, thank you very much, guys. So that's the group that was putting this together. I want to thank every single organization that is represented here. I will try to name them, but if I miss the name, please forgive me. I see we have Msingi Park, we have Elewa, we have Kabete National Polytechnic, we have Britam, we have ICA Lion Fundlings, we have Consolata Self-Help Group, and the others have not mentioned. Please forgive me. Thank you very, very much for being a part of this. In closing, I think it would be important for us to at least have some takeaways, a few takeaways, because it's very easy to forget. One, hello, we're about to finish. Please, let's just give this last bit some time. Okay? So we've talked about embedding technology in the way education is being done. That's one of the things that has come out very strongly. We have been told that the world is changing, and the way we were learning, say at my age when I was 7 or 8, is not the way that learning is being done today. So we need to remember that. The other thing that came out very strongly is that, remember, the way one person understands or learns is not the same as another person. And we're saying in this modern age, there has to be a way in which we can be able to accommodate people in the different ways that they are. We were also talking about partnerships. I think when you saw the team that was here at the front, you realize that whatever we are doing, there needs to be partnership. Financial literacy is something that is very close to me. When I see Britam here, I see ICA Lion, I see Consolata Shrine, we know that one thing we were never taught about was financial literacy when we were in school. So that's a thing that we need to take very seriously, especially the parents who are here, but even the young people, take that on board. So I'll go very quickly as I come to the end. We are saying that the internet is being used more for education currently, okay? So I think that I'd already said before. And then TVET. When we were going to school, TVET was regarded as an area for those people who are not successful in life. I think we have gone full circle, and I'm told even the last year, parents are preferring to take their kids to TVET because we're looking at acquisition of skills. People need to have the skills that can solve problems in the world. Not how many times you will repeat what you're taught in the university or in the schools. So TVET, I think the team is still there and we'll be able to engage with them. Yeah, so let me leave it at that point and just say once again that this is the first of a series of clinics for the rest of the year. So in a few months, we're going to have something on. It's going to be a medical clinic. We had done one last year. We're going to do another one this year. We will invite you to come. And then towards the end of the year, we'll have a financial clinic, one just focused on financial issues. So we hope that when we do these things, we're able to give back to the community and we're able then to be better persons. So as has been said, please don't leave. The room is available. Please interact with all the partners here so that we can be able to also make sure that they feel a part and parcel of what you're doing. So Madam MC, I think my job is done. I'll hand this back to you. Thank you.
Asante sana. So we are going to close with a word of from Crystal. Karibu Crystal. Then we can interact more. We are not going to leave. Let's interact. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Crystal. So let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Oh God, we want to thank you for this day, for this wonderful day and afternoon. We want to thank you that we've been able to gather information about these companies and how they're going to help our country. Oh Lord, we want to thank you for everything that we've learned. We want to thank you for giving us journey mercies as we came here, O Lord. We want to ask you to bless the rest of our Sundays, for us to utilize what we've learned so that we may grow and be knowledgeable about what has been talked about today. We want to ask you to be with us, guide us, and cover us with the blood of Jesus Christ as we all depart and go our separate ways. In Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.